Hi and welcome to Indigo Starfire. My name is Bevin, and in this video I'm going to be looking into the question, then versus now. How have their feelings about you and the connection evolved and changed? There are three groups to choose from. Group 1 is the Unakite. Group 2 is the Howlite. And group 3 is the Firestone. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing, and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups, or perhaps all of the groups that you're most drawn to, I'll give you a minute to make your selection and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps in the description box of the video for each group if you'd like to jump ahead. And up next is a close-up photo of the crystals to help you better make your selection. Hi, Group 1. You chose the Unakite. So I'm just going to be using oracle cards for this reading, and let's start off by taking a look at the energies of then, when you were last in contact with this person, if you're in separation, or if this is a current relationship, we can look into kind of the beginning stages of that connection, that spark that first inspired them to open their heart to you. What did their feelings look like once upon a time? Okay, we have 1, involution, drum, awaken, tree of life, conception, manifesting the future, and welcoming the help of others. So these energies indicate that there may have been an immediate sense of something shifting within this person when they encountered you, when you first made eye contact with one another, when they first heard your voice, when they first shook your hand or made like physical contact with you. Something within their soul, within their heart, that spoke to them about this could be the one. This could have been that dream person that they had been trying to manifest. And with that almost feels to be a sense of intimidation that could have to do with the sense of like, oh my gosh, my person that I have been seeking, this one that just sort of feels right. Again, like a very instantaneous kind of movement within the heart space. It may have opened up for them a visioning or kind of a need to sort of look around at the life that they were currently living, and a sense of like, am I prepared for them? What do I need to now change and evolve within myself in order to step forth into this connection, to build within this connection towards like an experience of forever. So it almost feels to be something where you represented wish fulfillment, but they themselves might have been faced with the reality that they weren't necessarily prepared for what they called into their reality. A sense here of feeling deeply connected to you on the soul level, imagining you kind of the more they got to know you, the more the relationship developed, as this is someone who could really support the best version of me coming online. This is somebody who maybe dreams that they had for the future, things that they resonated with or that were, part of their passion, or things that were kind of the foundations of the life that they were building. There was a sense of a lot of congruency between the two of you, a lot of aligned goals, desires, or dreams, even if that looked very different on the outside, kind of how you were approaching that similar sort of end result from a different angle. But again, a sense of kind of intimidation with that. You inspired this person to almost, it feels like, dream bigger, but then kind of look around at their progress so far on their journey or in their life, like when you were last dealing with them or kind of in the early stages of the connection, almost like there's no more excuses for me to put off getting things together in my life, or starting to focus on adulting more specifically, or no more excuses about sort of why I am as far away from as I am from particular goals that I have, why I might have been procrastinating or allowing distractions to sort of undermine my progress. So it's almost a sense of you held this person to a higher standard because of some essence within you of almost being very focused, very goal oriented, a sense of them really feeling that you are someone who knows yourself, you knew yourself, very self-directed, even if you were still in a process in your life of kind of figuring things out. What do I want for myself? Where am I headed? Maybe you were in a period of transition or change when you encountered this person. And even if you were kind of going through the process of sort of what stays and what goes from my reality, they saw you as someone who it would be safe to kind of follow your lead, or aligning with you in a certain way beyond love and romance. It feels at the core of who they are as a person or things that they value, there's a sense of, this is someone that would make a good partner. This is someone who would really kind of keep me in line, keep me focused, keep me aligned with my goals for myself as an individual, which it feels like might have been a very foreign experience for them in terms of other romantic partners that they had dealt with previously. So it's almost like you were a step up from the best relationship that they had had, and there's a degree of excitement with that, with this idea of like drum and awakening, kind of a fast-paced heartbeat or a sense of anticipation and excitement. Kind of like I've found the perfect person, or someone that aligns very well with me as an individual. I'm ready to take steps into the next stage of my life, but then also the sense of there's no going back from this point. There are no more excuses, which could have been a very daunting process for them, but it feels like is definitely part and parcel to needing to go through some sort of confrontation with their dark side, with their fears, with a lack mentality within. Almost like it was time for the rubber to hit the road, as far as here is a person that aligns very deeply, not just with a present version of them, but a version of them that they were working to cultivate. And all the circumstances that had kind of led to them either putting themselves out there and the two of you sort of meeting in that capacity, or if there was, just kind of like a chance meeting, synchronicities that had led the two of you together. It's almost the sense of them being aware of kind of a bigger chapter opening up in their life than simply just getting to know someone on a romantic level, or as the relationship developed between the two of you, as you got to know one another. It's almost the sense of things really opening up for them, that they correlated very specifically to meeting you, interacting with you, being in contact with you, being in a relationship with you, that signaled kind of bigger progress in terms of their life journey. So it's the sense of very grateful to have aligned with you, but at the same point in time, this can definitely be sort of a situation where a lot of you might find yourself in a no contact situation, where the person like ran from you, or in some way tower moments happened and your paths kind of diverged from one another. But it feels to be something that you could have awakened them to kind of greater contact with their higher self, or might have even kind of opened a can of worms as far as spirituality in general is concerned, that it almost feels to be very necessary that there was a separation period. That even if you're like still in separation, there may be layers of kind of this person looking back on the early stages, the early experiences with you, and starting to kind of connect those dots. Something that might have really intimidated them before, kind of set them on that inward journey, that inventory within self, that inventory of the life that they were living. It feels that those early moments, even now, are kind of these key points of reference for wherever they are at, like on their personal journey currently, that you've sparked or awakened something. There's a sense of them recognizing you as kind of no coincidence that you've aligned with one another, a degree of seeing you as a blessing in the past, but again, understanding or being kind of shown by their higher self, or some shadows that they needed to deal with within, that here is somebody that kind of represents a higher possibility of what is accessible to them as far as love and partnership, but it requires work within themselves in order to be able to match you at whatever level you were at, and to continue to kind of grow with you in tandem toward the future. So it might have brought up a lot of fear-based energies in that capacity. Fear of change, fear of the unknown, or a sense of almost like, am I up for the task? Do I have what it takes to go through a process of metamorphosis? Cutting things out of my life, rearranging the balance of how I utilize my energy and time, the priorities and the goals. It's almost like motivation to pick up the pace, to move towards things that maybe others in their life didn't really understand, didn't really support them in these goals and dreams, weren't necessarily aligned with that. And it's almost the energy of like a kindred spirit. When they met you, or in kind of the past or the early stages of the connection, a sense of we are deeply aligned with one another beyond love and romance, towards something bigger as an individual, which brought forth, it feels like, excitement, but then also the understanding that it's going to take a different kind of work in order to make this relationship work, make this relationship last, or that kind of an invitation for them as an individual to put in some work that might have represented a next level, or even a beginning of a spiritual journey altogether that could have been sort of outside of the realm of what they were hoping to manifest and intending to call in as far as a romantic partner. It's like that you were the perfect package, but then there's this whole other layer that they were being drawn to kind of look towards within themselves, beyond just sort of surface level and mundane characteristics where the two of you would connect, or where there was, alignment and whatnot, that it's almost an invitation to sort of look within, connect with a person on a deeper sort of emotional or spiritual level. So let's take a look at now. How have their thoughts and feelings about you and the connection evolved? Okay, we have Breath of the Cosmos. My will to thy will, micromanaging the universe. Your life is a canvas, artist manifestation, creative accountability. Stargate heart, heart chakra opening, unlocking generosity. Higher heart activation, dropping shields, divine love, your heart is healed. Call in protection, Archangel Michael. And wisdom, the rose of the world. So if you're at a distance from this person, if it's a no contact situation, it feels that they're definitely keeping tabs on you or watching you, are inspired by your living example, how maybe a separation between the two of you led to some heartbreak, and yet you've picked up the pieces, you've moved on with your life, or you're holding some kind of grief or disappointment about the circumstances between the two of you in a way that demonstrates poise and grace. It's a whole other level of inspiration that it feels like is causing them to sort of look at some aspects within themselves, wounds relating to what has happened between the two of you, or even tying back into that idea of kind of a lack mentality. Like, am I prepared to sort of journey with this individual, not just through the gates of love, but almost into like a deeper aspect within self, and then kind of rise beyond what I've known and experienced as far as intimacy and partnership with another person before. There's a sense of you holding yourself in a very loving space, and them being inspired or encouraged that it's safe for them to do the same. So they may be following your example in a lot of ways, things that you're focusing on, things that you're pouring your energy into. If you have, like social media where you're posting things about spirituality or wellness or your healing journey, it feels like for a lot of people, they're observing that and almost it's food for thought. It's encouraging them to maybe think outside of the box about certain things. It's providing answers to questions that they didn't really know how to put words to or to ask. It might be something where they're almost kind of mimicking a spiritual process or practice that you have, in the sense of not yet being ready to outwardly kind of present themselves and realign with you and walk forth together openly along said path. But it's almost the sense of, I see whatever you're focused on has created positive change for you. You look better. Your energy is better. You seem like more of a full version of yourself than you were before. And I'm inspired to kind of follow suit, to see where those same ideas or practices or, just kind of the energies that you're putting into things, how can I kind of replicate that in my own reality and experience that similar kind of vibration of change kind of emanating out in terms of physicality even. So they're seeing you as really having come into your own. You're looking very beautiful, very handsome, very put together, holding on to pain or heartbreak with, again, kind of like a grace or a poise or a lot of tact. And it's something that is really helping them to sort of soften to the idea that even though, we're all a work in progress at various points in time in our journey, and healing is definitely not a linear process. It's kind of like a spiral or peeling off the layers of an onion. We keep revisiting old wounds from different sort of vantage points. But there's a sense of territory that they had feared to tread towards before that would have led them to a deeper love of self, and then the ability to exchange love with another on a higher plane or plateau. Your process of doing that, even if you're quiet about it and it's just something that's reflected energetically speaking, you're encouraging them to kind of go where they haven't gone before. They may be reaching out to you and kind of working with your higher self, almost to sort of get some sort of reassurance about that it's safe for them to feel their feelings, to process their pain, to even sit within that kind of perception of a lack mentality, that the full range of experience and emotions is kind of like valid and welcome. There's a sense of love having grown or evolved for you. If they felt that spark or connection before, that like this could be the one, or this is the one, or this is like the type of individual that I was seeking on many levels, it's almost the idea of they've gone from that core reality and now it's at an even higher octave. You're sort of inspiring this person, it feels like, to rewrite the manual that they have been operating with in romantic partnerships, as far as give and take, as far as the expectation of sort of what love can look like. It feels like demonstrations of love for yourself, again, have really encouraged this person to sort of reformulate what they are looking at in terms of support between people, even at a distance, that they're feeling seen or supported by you amidst the silence. There's a sense here of also being very inspired by changes that you have made in terms of lifestyle changes, your focus, maybe with this energy of kind of like a spiritual awakening and kind of like heart chakra activation energies here. This can be like a twin flame situation, or it could have catalyzed the two of you onto profound spiritual journeys. And there's a sense of they're very proud of what you're focused on, or they're seeing that you're taking your pain or experiences from your past and you've alchemized that into purpose, into sort of motivation to rise beyond, or to learn to sort of accept yourself as you are, as kind of this beautiful work in progress that you have definitely embodied, living artistry in a variety of ways. There's a sense here of, I'm hearing you took the words out of my mouth with this breath of the cosmos. So this could be something where, again, things you're posting on social media could really resonate kind of with where they are on their own journey. Or if this is someone you're in contact with, there may be a lot of finishing one another's sentences, or almost like things you're talking about could be sort of exactly what's on their mind. So they're feeling very deeply connected to you on kind of these more subtle energetic layers. And that might have been something that was very intimidating in the past, and it's now something that they want to lean in deeper, to take a closer look, to savor more of that. It's opening up questions for themselves as well that go beyond just mundane partnerships, tying into the idea of soul connections, soul contracts. This person may consider you a soulmate even. In addition to that energy of like, this could be the one, it feels that they've transcended some limits or boundaries as far as how they've defined that, and they're now starting to pull in more of like these cosmic principles into that. If this connection moves forward, if I return from the past, if we continue to sort of evolve and grow with one another, there's a sense of almost the sky is no longer the limit, because this transcends all they have experienced of love and partnership with another person, or like feelings for another person. And it's not coming from a place of pedestalizing or kind of like, this is my missing piece and I'm incomplete with this person, but it's almost like you mirror for them the journey deeply within to self-acceptance, embodying of authenticity in a way that they feel comfortable and safe to do the same for themselves. And even if it's something where you haven't really outwardly sort of talked about what those different changes are, it's a sense of, I feel that even in a very evolved version of me, it would align with you, with a very evolved version of you. So a sense here of feeling almost parallel paths that the two of you are walking, or a deeper kind of level of comfort with maybe signs and synchronicities and some of the more spiritual layers to these energies, to this connection here. A sense of wanting to be more open with you as well, about kind of talking about their experiences emotionally, talking about kind of their history or their backstory. So if this is somebody that you're in a connection with, they may be on the brink of kind of opening up, letting you in deeper, letting you in closer than they have let anyone in before, or maybe in the aftermath of a heartbreak from their past where they had their walls up. It's a sense of you make them feel seen and comfortable enough as they are, that if there's anyone that is the right person to sort of allow back into a place within themselves that they've had locked away, to heal and to self-protect, it's almost effortlessly, and just by virtue of you being yourself, you've already accessed that inner terrain. And so this is the essence of like an invitation. So that can speak to, taking things to the next level, a bigger kind of conversation that they're preparing to have with you, reaching out to make amends, or again, just kind of a deepening of your layers of interactions with one another, so that you're able to sort of see a side of this person that others have not been privy to. There's a sense of feeling very strong even within their vulnerability, that if anyone could kind of appreciate both their light and shadow, it would be you. So time apart has really served this situation, it feels like, or if this is kind of an ongoing connection, they're deepening their affection for you without even meaning to. It's almost like they fall more and more in love with you, or are more and more drawn to you, are fascinated and kind of affected on a deep emotional level more and more as time goes on, even in kind of quiet moments or through simplistic things. It's almost a radiance of energy, an aura, something about being in your presence that helps to kind of bring them back home to themselves, to a deeper layer of acceptance and self-love than was the case before. So overall, it feels like these are feelings that have evolved for the positive with this person, even if you're in separation. And maybe you don't have social media, or they're not, you're not posting a whole lot, or you're kind of just mysterious at this particular point in time. They're feeling into you energetically. They feel very connected to you in the heart space, in the sense of, we don't need to talk. I don't need to interact with you. I don't need to sort of see what's going on with you. I can feel what's going on with you. And it feels like something where they're either in a process of surrendering to that reality, or are allowing that to kind of cascade over them, in a sense that might have been very daunting before, but they're being drawn in, kind of magnetized into this awareness that there is a purpose to kind of opening up to a deepening of love with you, or making efforts to reconnect with you more directly, more frequently, because they feel safe as their whole self when they are with you. And at times when you are apart, or like currently if you're apart, there's a yearning, there's like a longing to be back in your proximity, not out of a space of neediness or low vibration, but it's almost you are that inspiration that takes them to that higher level within themselves energetically, because you radiate that so effortlessly that it's very contagious for them. Like without meaning to, this feels to be something that a person that might have been kind of guarded, emotionally speaking, they're encouraged without being pressured to sort of just open up very organically at their own pace. And so there's a lot of gratitude in that capacity, that you've really almost wordlessly and just through your presence, you've helped to redefine for them what love can be, and what holding space for another person can be like, and kind of a flexibility to sort of explore within oneself and unfurl into a different kind of version in a very sort of organic and unique way. So there's a lot of gratitude they have for you. If you kind of ended things on not such good terms, or you've been in separation for a while, there's a lot of regret about that, because they're starting to really see not just that you're irreplaceable, or that you were, really in alignment with what they're seeking, but it's almost like you as an individual are a rare and unique soul, and to have themselves closer to you benefits them, because you're mirroring something to them as far as a deeper potential to kind of love and accept themselves. So they're seeing you as like a healthy influence, a positive influence, something they're wanting to gravitate toward, a person that they're wanting to open up their heart to, or to start to take the steps to repair the situation if that would be necessary given your circumstances, or to start to allow you in deeper so that the two of you can, build in more of those intricate layers with one another. So I want to get a few message cards, and then I'm going to get some initials to close out the reading. And let's see what this person wants you to know from their higher self. Okay, and we have, I'm disappointed in myself for letting you down. So this feels to tie into the idea of where they may have stumbled in the momentum between the two of you. A lot of intensity, a lot of signs and synchronicities, heart chakra activations, spiritual awakenings, things that might have been very overwhelming for this person when they happen, very much outside of the wheelhouse of love and partnerships, or in general, or what their focus in life was, or kind of the lens by which they were interpreting experiences in life. And so there's a sense of them needing to work through feeling almost like a coward for running away, pushing away, taking their kind of time to open up or move into this place of surrender and acceptance, that even though the connection may have these spiritual layers that are a bit unusual for them, that overall this is a good and healthy experience. And they also say, I'm keeping my distance to protect you and your energy. So there's an acknowledgement on their part that they may still be in the process of learning to love themselves, going more deeply within to explore their own spirituality. Any triggers that have come up as far as, again, the sense of they've manifested in this sort of like perfect person, or this particular person, and that's you. And yet when the blessing of that manifestation arrived in flesh and blood, there's an energy of like hesitating, or not really believing themselves to be kind of worthy of that, worthy of receiving you fully or reciprocating with you. And so any distance or delays that have been kind of created on their part, it's a sense of like it's not you, it's me, and not coming from like a cliche sense. There's almost like their higher self is kind of chiming in to say, it needs to be slow, or there needs to be distance at this point in time, because this person is in the process of sort of stepping into a better version of self that aligns with kind of a higher principle within you, so that this relationship can kind of move forward too, or start off, or kind of be repaired from a higher vibration than when you initially connected, or then was sort of the expectation or the result of, other romances that you've had, each of you in the past, kind of the standard that you had, or the expectations that you've had, that there's something as far as like currently, or in the time period between whatever then and now looks like for you, where they've been sort of confronting these blocks within and dismantling them bit by bit, but it's a tedious process. And they also say, I became numb because I refused to take accountability for my behavior. So this can definitely speak to, someone who ran, someone who, came on hot and heavy only to sort of stall out, or kind of give some mixed signals, hot and cold. They may have ghosted, blocked, kind of wishy-washy sort of energy. And there's a sense here of someone who folds under pressure, or the sense of, as excited as I am to have met you, to have experienced what we've experienced with one another, I'm still not ready within myself to hold the fullness of the love that you have to give. What I have to give is only kind of a trickle of what is possible within me, because I'm so used to sort of closing my heart off, or it's been closed for repairs since the last heartbreak. And it's almost like you've come knocking, or you've accessed this person's heart, or, presented them almost with the key to their own liberation. And while this is something that they've been yearning for, they've been praying for, they've wanted, when you showed up in reality, it almost kind of brought the lesson home for them of some things that they need to work on, or understand within themselves, in terms of when faced with sort of situations of change, or heavy and intense energies, emotionally speaking, what's that coping mechanism? It's almost like a nerve ending has been touched, they've been triggered in a way, and now it's an educational period for them, as far as, is this serving my highest good, or in this circumstance the highest good and outcome of this situation? If not, what can I do to take accountability, to understand this wound or this tendency within, and kind of course correct in a different direction? And they also say, I miss us. So if you're in no contact, they definitely are thinking about you, wanting to reconnect, wanting to rekindle, wanting to, it feels like, return to your life at a point when they have some sort of evidence of work that they've been doing within themselves to either expand their spiritual knowledge, work on some sort of, intimacy issues within themselves, maybe fear of commitment. There's a sense of, I don't want more time to go by with us being at a distance. I want to show you and prove to you that a willingness to sort of trust me, or let me back in, or to rebuild a connection, that it's not kind of a waste of time, or that it's energy sort of well applied on your part. And they also say, when I can hold you again, I will never let you go. So more of that energy of really increasingly understanding you to be the one, the type of person they have been looking for, somebody that, they might even be above and beyond the expectations of what they were calling in initially, but it feels like they're headed towards overall the essence of learning to trust and understand that you've shown up in their life for a reason, that they are worthy of receiving what it is you have to give, or what the energies between the two of you, or other sort of spiritual phenomenon that have maybe led them on some kind of side quest or journey deeply within themselves, that there's kind of a bigger purpose to all of that. So there's a lot of gratitude with this, in the sense of, I don't want there to be distance between us. I don't want to miss my opportunity with you. I don't want somebody else to kind of come along and take my place by your side. And so, again, reinforces the idea of someone who's not just trying to make promises of change, but is actively kind of working to create that change within themselves, so that they have something more, something consistent to offer, so that they can be that safe space for you as well, so that you can unfurl into more of the fullness of who you are capable of being in romance. And they also say, I loved you more than I let on. So this could have been somebody that, intensity between the two of you happened. It could have felt like maybe they were getting ready to take things to the next level, or things were going really good. And then all of a sudden, they shut down or disconnected or pulled away. And this all really indicates kind of a fear of being hurt in love again. They also say you're the best thing that's happened to me. So confirmation there that you are everything that they have been looking for, the full package, and the reality of that presented to them very directly might be something that is still very intimidating, and they're kind of working on that. And they also say, I have the flashbacks I have about us are intense. So this is definitely not an out of sight, out of mind situation. If you're in no contact, this can also talk about like past life visions or downloads that are coming through for them. That can be another area of kind of this level of intimidation. They may not be used to thinking about things like that, experiencing things like that. Might be some turbulence as far as like an awakening, crown chakra activations, heart chakra activations, dark night of the soul sort of energy here. But a sense of, as much as they've run or they pulled away, they keep being magnetized back towards you. A sense of there's more to this, or there's a reason that we've connected with one another. And as much as I'm kind of needing this time, or I'm taking this time to sort of learn to love myself more deeply, it is with the intention of moving towards you in a higher vibration, more reciprocity than has been the case, or to show you like a transformed version of them than who you were dealing with previously if it's a no contact situation. So these initials can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got R, E, C, I, A, F, D, Y, T, F, N, H, L, M, E, K, W, V, and O. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 2. You chose the Howlite. So I'm just going to be using oracle cards for this reading, and let's start with the energies of then. This can either represent the early stages of your connection, if you're still seeing one another or in contact with one another, or if this is a no contact situation, you're in separation. This can be the reflection of how they were feeling when you were last in contact, or at whatever stage kind of led up to the period of separation. Okay, we have forgiveness, strength, offerings, wealth, medicine mask, authenticity, shielding, protecting, and grounding, and welcoming the help of others. So there's a sense here of a lot of respect that they had for you in the past as a person, but that they may have felt that you were out of their league in a certain way, or that you were, just by virtue of the fact of who you are or who you were, you held this person to a higher standard or a level of accountability that they might have felt undue pressure was being put on them to change, even if you didn't make any sort of ultimatums. It's almost the sense of them putting you on a pedestal in a way that reflected to them ways in which they themselves have been kind of running from their authentic self, or have not had not kind of done the work to overcome kind of boundaries and deficits within themselves in order to sort of harness their full potential and really actively co-create with spirit kind of a life that they were proud of living, or that they were satisfied with living. There may have been a lot of almost like jealousy or envy in a certain way towards you in the past that could have made them feel almost like an outlier in a sense. A lot of people that might have been kind of drawn towards you, or just a vibe that you were giving off, could have also sparked a lot of jealousy within this person. A sense of you really triggered without knowing it shadows and wounds within them that needed to be sort of handled and dealt with. There's a sense of this person kind of feeling that it wasn't in the past necessarily safe to go all in this situation, so they could have definitely had like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. May have sort of taken a trigger and turned that into like a red flag, rather than just sort of a wound that needed to be addressed within themselves. And it feels like for a lot of people this could be a situation where they could have just ghosted you or blocked you with very little notice. Kind of a minor disagreement or misunderstanding could have turned into something blown very much out of proportion, where it's almost the sense of you could have wondered, did I say or do something? But it feels like this person was always sort of just looking for an excuse to run, because you challenge them to sort of stop making excuses, or to move out from behind some degree of like pessimism, or not really valuing themselves, and kind of looking to others, looking to other people in life, or other people in happy relationships, not with the feeling of I can cultivate that or find that for myself, but almost just like a jealous or envious energy that could have just led to kind of like a defeatist attitude, almost sort of feeling like, why would someone like you be interested in somebody like me? And so while they may have been very compelled towards you, very much kind of in awe of how you were living your life, the way in which you love, or showed them affection, showed them care and attention, or if you're actually in a relationship with one another, kind of what you were providing, what you were bringing to the table, that could have been very different from what people in their past provided or brought to the table. And this could have been something that was almost like alluring at first, but then it feels like definitely push some buttons as far as their ego is concerned, made them look at kind of their present circumstances or their internal circumstances, and to lean into a polarity of lack as opposed to motivation to kind of rise above circumstances or actualize certain potentials within themselves. There's a sense here of them feeling as well that, and this may be just kind of like an unconscious play of energies, or some degree of a person that may have kind of had just a persecution complex in general when you were last dealing with them, had a difficult time taking accountability, might have just been kind of one person in the light of day and another person behind closed doors, and really struggled to sort of create a blend, or to even kind of keep separate, these two sort of versions of them, or these two worlds. And it almost might be something that feels like they could have sensed a bit of guardedness on your part. They might have kind of given off the vibes of jealousy or envy or pessimism or resentment in a certain way, and that might have caused your spirit team to kind of give them some nudges to, ease off and not project maybe so much heaviness or negativity your way. This might have been something instinctually speaking you could have started to kind of self-protect as well. Just kind of playing off of sort of whatever they were presenting to you, a degree of almost becoming a bit short-tempered or, passive-aggressive in a way. It feels like this person in the past almost may have construed this situation as like, you're bringing out the worst in me, and pointing that finger of blame rather than sort of taking personal responsibility. And so while it's almost like you were very appealing to them, rather than sort of looking at you in the situation as like, this is something that I can, strive to sort of understand within myself. I've called this person into my reality because some layer of me is adequately prepared to kind of match them at their level and build from there. Instead, they took it to kind of a low vibrational place, and it feels like what could have been sort of a beautiful connection may have unraveled or de-evolved into sort of a sense of them looking at you with a sense of, I will never have or become kind of what you are or what you have. And this goes far beyond, it feels like, just sort of material trappings or pursuits. It's almost supposed to be something on an energetic level, drawn to your light and at the same time very intimidated by it. So this can speak to like a soul contract between the two of you. This could definitely be like a karmic connection, where this is sort of the purpose, or one of the purposes of your interaction with one another in this lifetime, is for you to hold a mirror up to this person as far as the role or the persona that they've crafted for themselves that like the outside world knows, versus kind of what that internal landscape looks like. This could be somebody that might have had a very overinflated ego, may have presented as very confident, very charming, very outgoing, but then secretly inside it feels to be something that they felt that you accessed or you tapped on or you touched on some degree of them feeling like an imposter, or that this was all just a show to present this confidence, when really inside there was a lot of fear-based energies, a sense of emptiness, a sense of like, I don't know who I am beyond this persona. And so it feels like in the past they were very or when you were kind of last dealing with them, this is the energy of almost it's sort of unraveled to this point. So this definitely could be like a no contact situation, where right at that point where you sort of parted ways, they were harboring like a very low vibrational energy, very kind of resentful of your happiness, resentful of your abundance. That same light that drew them in now was something that was feeling very triggering or very uncomfortable or painful to them. And so it almost feels to be something that when they walked away or pushed you away or ran away from the situation, they felt that they were taking the high road, or they felt kind of morally superior in some sort of manner, maybe even kind of satisfied by a degree of heartbreak or disappointment that they had kind of inflicted upon you, as a reflection of some sort of inauthenticity within themselves that you were actually the polar opposite of. So this almost feels to be something like a toxic example of the yin to one's own yang, where they weren't looking at you like, this is something that, complements my light and shadow. This is a person where, I'm feeling very confronted in kind of that shadowy energy, but from that place, there, the other side of that coin has to be a corresponding light. It's like they just dwelled in that sort of shadow and allowed that to kind of influence their behavior towards you or their beliefs towards you. Almost the sense of, again, kind of feeling feeling powerful or feeling very content at the idea of having inflicted heartbreak, dimming your shine, dimming your light, in a sense, when they walked out the door or whatever it is that happened to sort of, dismantle the connection, or kind of create that space and time where we're talking about like then versus now. So this definitely feels to be somebody that like that toward the end of the connection in the past, they were not thinking positively of you. They were projecting blame upon you for things within themselves that they weren't ready to deal with, ready to face, or this might have even been something that could have, this almost feels like something where they set themselves up for a dark night of the soul, pushing you away. This kind of beacon of light essentially banished them into some degree of their personal darkness, where they've been wandering in that. That's sort of the road that they chose, and now they're kind of lingering within that. Now there's no escape from that. Now there's no choice but to either sort of wallow there, or to, kind of do the work, or perhaps they've been doing the work to start to unpack all of that. Why look towards somebody that is offering love, or is offering a high vibration, offering their most authentic self, and why pick that apart, instead of, sort of participating with that, or instead of saying, this person sees something in me, this is what they bring to the table, what do I need to do in order to see and find that within myself as well? So let's take a look now at how their thoughts and feelings towards you may have evolved in the time that you've been apart. Okay, we have the void, stop, embrace winter, great cosmic womb. The seas of Mintaka, seeing potential, bringing unconsciousness to light. Seraphim's gateway, voice activation, angelic attunement, divine support. Angelic frequency, angels are here, you are safe, potent connection. Create a powerful network, redwood tree divas. And wisdom, the rose of the world. So this energy of the void definitely confirms the idea that pushing you away, running away from this connection, negativity that has been projected towards you in the past, definitely caught up with this person and most likely propelled them into a dark night of the soul, in their own kind of right, because they had chosen that sort of path of the lower frequency. It feels, there's a sense here of feeling almost stranded, craving your light, wishing they could turn back the hands of time, because they're now from this place of like personal darkness, they're able to decipher your light even brighter than it was before. And where it was triggering before, it's now something they're reaching for utterly. They're seeing you as kind of a divine blessing in their life that was squandered. A sense of you offering them kind of a place in your world, or a place in your heart, that this is something that what they felt to be a power move by pushing you away or hurting you, or maybe, kind of that buildup of sort of negativity that might have led to the final straw in this situation. There's a sense of them understanding they chose the wrong path, and that it feels to be very sort of difficult, the idea of getting back in your good graces. This feels to be something where it's almost like you keep raising in your frequency and vibration, and they're kind of like stuck or dwelling in this lower frequency, that it's almost the anchor, the bastion of hope, or sort of the one that might have helped them to kind of walk through these sort of triggers or shadows within them, kind of by their side. It's like they pushed away the one who was sent to sort of heal or to be that blessing, or to kind of be that reminder to them, because this may be somebody that it feels like they've just been in kind of a dark place for a while before you even came into contact with them. You really may have been like a godsend to this person, or some kind of divine intervention to try and encourage them to change their ways, or to take a look at the perspective they're holding within and how that might have rippled out as well into experiences in their material world. And so there's a sense of heaviness, almost like I've missed this opportunity, I've wasted this blessing, I've hurt this person that was almost kind of my divine gift or blessing, or a divine gift and blessing at a very dark point in my life. And there's a sense of hopelessness with this. How do I redeem myself after what has happened, after, you know, even kind of secret resentments that I've held within my heart while dealing with this person, or that kind of increased the longer that we were in contact with one another. There's a sense now of them seeing that if you had started to kind of close off, or guard your heart to them, or maybe even sort of your spirit team stepped in, it feels that you are very inaccessible to them at this particular point in time. Like it would take a lot of work within themselves to sort of hoist out of that dark place within. And really a necessity to kind of go through some profound energetic or spiritual or emotional transformation, or things they need to change in their material world before they'd even stand a chance of kind of having something to offer to you. And at this present time, it feels like there's a hopelessness with that. It's a long journey ahead, and they almost feel it feels like they almost feel that it's their karma to have you be the one that got away, or something really beautiful that has just been kind of squandered or sabotaged, that now kind of pours into more of that sense of like a pity party, or a woe is me, or a pessimism, or kind of the idea of like, see, nothing works out. See, love is not something that lasts, or you know, good experiences eventually kind of fall apart. So it feels like they're sort of still in the energy of playing the blame game, not fully accepting responsibility for the essence of any kind of heaviness or darkness, any kind of karmic repercussions that's happened through their conduct here. They're not yet at the place of being able to accept responsibility fully. Now, instead of kind of like, you're putting pressure on me, you're the problem, it's almost like, why is the universe out to get me? Why do things never work out my way? You know, why can I sort of only kind of stand on the outside of the glass and watch people, you know, enjoy their best life kind of in an energy of coziness or togetherness that is inaccessible to me. So it feels like something where they're recognizing that you're kind of drifting further away, or a sense of sort of like, this is kind of a lost cause at this particular point in time. This doesn't feel like anyone who's very motivated to reach out, that it almost feels to be something where they understand that it would only sort of bring more disappointment to you in this situation, like in the current circumstances. Based on what's happened, this might even be somebody you wouldn't entertain a second chance with them at all. So they might be very right in that assumption that it's kind of just best to stay away because they had that opportunity, and now whatever unfolds for them, whatever that journey looks like for them, you know, whatever ways kind of divine intervention sort of has its way with them to try and get that lesson home, that like the perspective that they're holding within, the idea of like resenting other people for what they have or what they bring to the table, even just energetically, only creates more sort of chaos and corrosion and disappointment within this person's life. It's almost, they had the opportunity to learn that with you, or to experience that with you, and they chose the low road. And so now it feels like it might be more extreme as far as what spirit has to do in order to get this person's attention, in order to try and sort of encourage them that there's another way to go about things, or like a higher quality of life they could create for themselves or call in for themselves, if they would get out of their own way, or kind of deal with some of that shadowy sort of energy within. So this feels to be something that this is most likely someone who's not even really watching from afar, because it's just too painful. It's almost like with this energy of the rose, it's kind of like if they were to tap into your energy or look at pictures of you or look at your social media, it'd be just like grabbing onto the thorns of the rose without the ability to kind of savor the sweetness. They're just not in a perspective right now or a place in their life right now. It feels like that they're optimistic about many things, or even kind of this connection or the rejuvenation of that. They feel even much more that you're further out of their league after whatever's happened or time that has passed. So let's take a look at a couple messages from their higher self, and then I'll close the reading out with some initials. Okay, and we have, you're the only one I see. So this person may be getting a lot of signs, synchronicities, reminders from spirit about this situation, about how they handled this situation, how they hurt you, how they squandered this opportunity, that they're not being allowed to forget kind of what was offered, what they did with that gift, and then what the repercussions are as far as you're glowing and growing and they're kind of sinking further into some sort of personal misery within themselves. That can also kind of account for why they're not seeking out to sort of look you up, look at your social media, reach out and contact you, because they're already bombarded with kind of reminders of this situation. They can't outrun it. And so it feels like to press upon this more directly, it would just make that level of discomfort more acute than it already is. And we also have, I'm disappointed in myself for letting you down. So this is, again, kind of this idea of more of the pity party. It's just kind of a woe is me energy. Someone who has kind of sabotaged advertently or inadvertently the connection, with you, or was just very kind of callous or careless with your emotions and your heart, didn't handle their own triggers appropriately, and kind of, you bore the brunt of that. And there's a sense of almost kind of like it's just another excuse to kind of pour into that sense of, see, nothing ever works out, or I'm a flawed individual, or nothing good lasts. So again, it's kind of a reflection that they've not necessarily turned a corner yet on their healing journey. They're still very much in a dark place and kind of sinking further in. And we also have, I am grateful that you came into my life. So this is a confirmation of them acknowledging at this point in time that you were a divine blessing. You were an example of something different than they had experienced in love before. The fact that they felt that you were kind of out of their league, it's a sense of almost that reflecting a lack mentality within them, that they were invited to step beyond, to think outside of the box as far as how they were viewing themselves inside, kind of like core deficits within themselves. And since they chose kind of the alternate path to try and undermine the situation, or to hurt you, or kind of take your emotions and your heart for granted, it's almost the idea of they're being shown at this point in time that this isn't just you broke someone's heart and move forward, but it's almost like there was a bigger purpose to all of this, in terms of you being some kind of way shower or guide for them that was encouraging them to kind of reframe or reformat sort of the way in which they were valuing themselves. And they also say, you're all I've ever hoped for. You're my dream person. So it's the idea of like too good to be true, out of their league. Definitely a reflection of some things that they needed to work on within themselves. That now it's a sense of like, well, it's a dream that will never become a reality because I've messed things up in this situation, or I've hurt this person, I've done things, or I've been kind of cruel and unkind, and how do I ever sort of come back from that? Because it's not even the sense of like knowing what they have now that it's gone fully. It's just you represented something that they considered to be out of their league, like they were sort of over estimating their kind of worth and ability to be compatible with you when they approached you, or when you were getting to know one another. But it's almost the sense of that value, that worth continues to increase. Maybe in the aftermath of dealing with this person, you've really kind of gathered up your self-respect. You're learning to love yourself. You're valuing yourself more. Access to you is not easy or in the same kind of way that it was before. So it's almost the sense of like, how do I reach this kind of dream becoming a reality with this person when I didn't feel properly equipped to kind of go with the flow of that before, and now there's a sense of even just anticipating that it would be difficult or hard or impossible for them to kind of earn trust back, not even trusting themselves to sort of stand by your side without kind of moving back into that energy of sort of a fear-based polarity, a lack mentality, a cowardice within them. And we also have, I can't keep going on without you. So again, being bombarded with like signs, synchronicities, reminders of this situation. Spirit is not letting them forget what has taken place. They almost feel very haunted by your energy, like they can't escape it. They can't escape reminders of what they've done, what has taken place, what they have been refusing to look at within themselves. And it's also the sense of like, I can't keep pace with you. They've regressed in some way into their kind of toxicity within themselves. And so it's the sense of, if I didn't feel like an adequate match for you before, now I'm, up to my neck in my own kind of darker currents of toxic energy. And so now there's a sense of like, I can't even get myself out of that. What do I really have to bring to the table for you, other than kind of just more pain and disappointment? And we also have, I'm going through a dark night of the soul and need space. So another confirmation of that in the aftermath of you dealing with this person, even if they put on, they're putting on airs, they're kind of walking around in a very overinflated ego, inside, behind closed doors, after hours, it's a very different story. This was like somebody whose world is collapsing from the inside out. So they may be presenting very well, but it's something very different that's happening for them behind the scenes, which that rock bottom is an excellent place to kind of pivot toward a different sort of horizon if that's something that they choose to do, or it feels like divine intervention is kind of involved in all of this. So there may be a very necessary period of them having to be kind of haunted by your energy in this experience, tower moments that are the result of their own actions. They've kind of called that now into their reality and into their existence. And that might be a very necessary process, a humbling which needs to take place for this person, whether they would kind of work up the courage or nerve to try and make amends or try and come back into your world and into your reality, if you'd even have anything to do with them after whatever's happened. Regardless of that, it feels that there's kind of a bigger purpose to sort of where they're at in their journey right now. Spirit's taking them down a very particular road that is the result of sort of what's happened here, but it feels like an even sort of larger theme maybe of kind of leaving a trail of heartbreak in their wake due to not feeling good enough, and yet calling in or gravitating toward people that like a moth to the flame, kind of that light entices them, only to sort of trigger those shadows, and they're in a stage of their life where spirit is kind of insistent they need to deal with that, because that toxicity, it's not serving them, and it's not serving other people. And we also have, my biggest regret is not telling you how I really feel. So there is kind of an inkling here that, perhaps they would have been better served to open up about some fears and hesitations rather than just allowing things to stew, rather than kind of getting into a place of passive aggressive energy or anything they did that was very kind of petty or hurtful. That there's a sense of, again, kind of regret, but it goes just into sort of a darker, deeper kind of pit of toxicity within them. See, here's another example where I'm the bad guy, or I'm the bad girl, or, things fall apart. I ruin everything that I touch. They were too good for me anyway, so it's probably good that I let them down so they could move on towards somebody that was more of an adequate match for them. And all of that kind of, as much as they might feel powerful for the moment, or feel very kind of vindicated, or that was the right approach, there's also a sense of like a sinking feeling within them that kind of playing into those lower currents and vibrations, it's only causing them to sort of sink further into their own misery within their life. And so there's a regret around that this is like a pattern for them in general. And you are another example of just a step along that downward spiral within, which it feels like they feel very powerless and frightened and uncertain how to break free from that. So they just keep going through the motions. And they also say, I want to rebuild our connection. So this feels to be like wishful thinking. Almost, if I could turn back the hands of time, I might have done things differently. But it's a sense of almost kind of at this point in time, that want to maybe move back towards you or make efforts to get into your good graces. It feels to be something that it's not practical or feasible for where they're at in their journey, or with what has happened between the two of you. So it feels like something where they're almost just chalking it up to, well, this will just be another regret among the many. This will be the person, kind of that gift or blessing from the divine that I squandered. And it feels like they're just using that to kind of reinforce for themselves that they're a flawed individual, they're a broken individual, they're a wounded individual. They're leaning into a place of like, woe is me currently, which again can be kind of a necessary rock bottom that brings them toward some kind of development or growth beyond that, or it may be something that, if this pattern is kind of deep enough within this might be a situation of kind of rejection is divine protection, that it was sort of your blessing that this person sabotaged the situation, or kind of excuse themselves from the situation, because to perpetuate or continue a connection with them, it feels like would have just continued to drag you down, lower your vibration. And unless they change, it's almost like they're only capable of hurting people at this point. So let's get some initials. This can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got N, S, C, A, X, C, Z, V, P, Q, A, I, H, T, and G. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 3. You chose the Firestone. So I'm just going to be using oracle cards for this reading, and let's start with the energies of then. Either when you first met this person, the early phases of your connection, if you're still together, or if you're in a separation from one another, whatever those feelings were towards you in the connection at the period when you parted ways from one another. Okay, we have direction, resistance, bells, deflection, west, purge, realizing empathy as revolution, and mentalizing emotional impressions. So I'm hearing you changed my world, and it feels like something that you inspired this person to believe in love again, to shed layers and conditions within themselves that had made them question how lovable they are. Things as far as even just small experiences with you, ways in which you may have been a very active listener, or you had things in common with them, similar beliefs, values, goals, ideas, ways of looking at the world, or there's almost an essence of them feeling understood, seen, and accepted on a deep personal level that is uncommon for them or hasn't happened for them in romance before. You opened their mind to kind of a different view of themselves, a different view of love and partnership. It's the idea of like you were a breath of fresh air in their reality. Exactly what they needed to shake themselves out of some degree of stagnation. There's a sense of feeling very inspired by you, someone who may have opened up to start to capitalize on their dreams once more, or to start to look at the world with a sense of possibility as opposed to being stuck in some kind of routine or monotony. It feels to be something where they may have been strongly magnetized towards you in a way that could have been almost the exact kind of connection that they were looking for. This might be somebody that was already on kind of a spiritual path, but could have felt very much like they were in unknown territory, or maybe had kind of didn't really have a lot of people around them who could sort of empathize with or communicate with them about certain spiritual concepts. And it's the idea of like a breath of fresh air. Finally, there's somebody that speaks my language in that capacity, to where that feels like there was not only romantic attraction, but also like mental stimulation, spiritual stimulation, a sense of belonging that this person experienced with you in the past, that it feels like even on just a person-to-person level outside of the realm of romance, this might have been something very new or very unusual for them to connect so deeply with another individual about things that they might have usually kept by themselves or sort of just mulled over in their own mind. It's almost the energy of, now I have an outlet or a platform or another person through which I can kind of exchange these ideas with, that we can inspire one another. There's a sense here of them hearing the call in a certain way with this energy of bells and kind of this antler here, where you may have, kind of coincided with or helped them to kind of move through or aligned very deeply with some kind of process of like a crown chakra activation or opening. This person might have even sort of prophesized your arrival, dreamed that they would encounter you. They might have recognized you from, or energetically even like from, a dream space, and then to experience and encounter the reality of you, it feels like it provided a lot of confirmations for them as far as their higher senses, or even kind of independently the path that they were called toward or had chosen for themselves. There's a sense of almost like a timelessness to this bond too, where they really could have sensed a past life connection with you, like the familiar stranger almost, something that helped to really provide them with reassurance and validation that efforts that they'd made to, kind of work on themselves, any sort of healing or kind of efforts toward being that better version of self, that best version of self, accepting and loving themselves, as they are, that kind of that's been the right decision. This person might have kind of been the outlier within their social circle or within their family, kind of like the the black sheep sort of energy here. And it's a sense of like, okay, here's another person that fits that energetically or experientially, or in how it is that they're living their life, even if it was very different, the two of you, in terms of those spiritual paths or practices and whatnot. So there's a sense of belonging that this person felt with you. It feels like very immediately, and then it continued to sort of grow and develop the more you got to know one another. There's a sense here as well that they felt very encouraged by you to break free from some version of them that had maybe shown up in previous romantic partnerships. So this could have been someone who did a lot of interpersonal work before you connected with one another, and it might have almost been like a fresh version of them is who met you, like work that they had done to kind of evolve and grow, and that version of them had never before kind of experienced love and romance. And so it's a sense of, even if they might have been a little wobbly in that capacity, or it could have been sort of a slow start, or maybe this is a situation of like friends that developed into something more, there's a lot of kind of gratitude for the measured pace at which you allowed or have allowed the situation to unfurl, without perhaps even knowing that they had undergone such a degree of like personal development before the two of you encountered one another, that it's as if they were, a fresh person kind of out there experiencing romance for the first time, although it feels like the version of them that you met and you've encountered is the result of work they've put in to kind of heal and evolve and grow beyond disappointments they'd experienced romantically in the past. So there's a sense here of a lot of positive and uplifting energies. This definitely could resonate with people that this is kind of an ongoing connection, because it feels like any sort of periods of separation might be for the purposes of each person's personal growth and development, things that each of you is sort of focused on or needing to address. A lot of flexibility within this, almost the idea of, we're connecting, but we're giving one another space. And even that in and of itself, it feels like was a breath of fresh air, or sort of help this person to sort of see how much of an uphill climb it might have been to make relationships work in the past. Even friendships or other sort of interpersonal relationships, it's almost the idea of like you and this person energetically understood or understand one another, and it's kind of helped them to see it doesn't take so much work to make relationships work, or love doesn't have to be such a challenge, such a fight. Yes, there's compromise, but it doesn't need to be such an excruciating process, or something that one must always be kind of mindful of, or hyper fixated or focused on. It's almost like you encourage this person to continue along some sort of path of having risen above certain circumstances, because you've met them at that level of they've already spread their wings and they're flying. So they felt in the past, it feels like very aligned with you on kind of like a deeper spiritual level. That spiritual self, that kind of path of self-improvement, the yield of that, one of the yields of that is a compatible romantic partner for where they're at in their journey. And so there's a sense of you align very well with kind of whatever it is they've cultivated energetically within themselves to kind of reach a certain level, or something that has kind of helped them very personally to overcome some things, to learn to trust again, to kind of open up to love again. So let's take a look at the energies of now and how these feelings may have evolved and changed. Okay, we have the blue flame, spontaneous awakening, activation, integration time. Jump in, Andromedan energy, adventure, say yes to change. Angelic frequency, angels are here, you are safe, potent connection. Venusian galactic council, star being guides, answer the call, time to shine. Become your own authority, Arthur at Tintagel. And assistance is at hand, the crew. So definitely a sense here of this person continues to feel more and more aligned with you along some sort of higher plane, a spiritually based connection. They may consider you to be their twin flame or like a higher level soulmate, feeling very aligned with you in terms of life purpose, mission in general, values and goals, energy, kind of a process of taking accountability for self. They're seeing this and seeing you as a very healthy and uplifting connection. They're feeling that there's a lot of space for them to explore kind of the outer regions of their consciousness, or ideas that they gravitate toward, practices, and how they're kind of living their life. There's again this energy of sort of you open and expand their mind to include ways of connecting with another person romantically that had been lacking in previous connections. Almost the sense of like, I didn't know that people in romance could experience something like this. This might have been the kind of person in the past, they had like their friends group, and then they had whoever they were in a relationship with. And it might have been difficult for sort of those two worlds to blend very seamlessly, where they could have felt torn in two directions, or maybe they were used to partners in their past that were very codependent and needy, and so there was no time for friendships because the relationship kind of would suffer, or friendships suffered as they were pouring themselves into romance. But there's a sense of autonomy within this. Maybe even you and this person sort of friends group blends very well together, so it kind of just makes for a bigger happy family, so to speak. The sense of them really starting to see that you do fit very well into their world, you fit into their reality. There's somebody that you are, somebody they want to incorporate into their future, because you're very different than what they've experienced in terms of love and partnership in the past. This might be somebody that previous connections had been very constricting, very limiting, something where they felt very trapped. And with you, it's almost a sense of, I feel free to be myself. I feel that there is trust here that doesn't have to be earned. It's just implicit. This also might be something that through encountering you and your experiences with one another, again, this is giving the vibe of like an ongoing connection between you and somebody, that it's a sense of a lot of spiritual growth and change is happening within them, but it's very much in the flow of a path that they were already walking. So there's not this resistance, like what's happening, I don't know what's occurring. With all these kind of like crown chakra energies, there's a sense of this was already somebody seasoned along the spiritual path. They weren't going to be overwhelmed by the heart chakra opening. They weren't going through a spiritual awakening for the first time, or plunged into a dark night of the soul, or kind of asking like, what's Kundalini energy? It feels like somebody that already had a pretty sufficient understanding of such things, or has gone with the flow of that. If it was not part of their lexicon before, something within you kind of, and this experience sort of creates confidence within them to explore these themes or concepts in a way that very much aligns with or resonates as truth. You may kind of, even the things you talk about could be sort of providing answers for them to phenomenon they hadn't really thought about, could explain a lot as far as what they're sort of going through, the idea of like called to action to sort of step into that higher timeline, that higher version of self, to sort of think outside of the box, or even think in a more broad way in terms of how they've been living their life, focus, priorities, goals, and values, and sort of how can those things be improved upon or shifted in some sort of way to align more deeply with a meaningful life, or who I am at a core level. So this can also really indicate that they're seeing you as like soul family, part of their soul group, a lot of starseed and kind of angelic energy here. So that can be a confirmation for those of you that resonate with kind of that vibration of star seeds. You might have even opened this person's mind to that or expanded their perceptions of that in a certain way. They could have even been looking at concepts like that as sort of from an observer stance, and they're starting to own or hold on to the exploration of that as part of their own identity as well at a soul level or energetically speaking. It feels like with you, they feel supported to kind of expand spiritually or maybe talk about things that nobody really understood or couldn't resonate with or didn't have that language for. Like that was coming through in the essence of sort of then, and it's they're more excited about this now that this is still the case. You're still participating with them. You haven't kind of run in the opposite direction due to maybe beliefs that they have that are a bit outside of the box or a bit unconventional. So there's a sense of almost like I feel that I've found someone I can deeply connect with on multiple layers and levels of reality. I have found somebody that sort of sees me for the fullness of who I am, which allows me to continue to explore those subtleties and nuances and layers within myself as well. So it feels like a lot of gratitude that they have, a lot of love that is increasing for you. If this is a circumstance where maybe this is someone who hasn't yet told you that they love you or is held back as far as their feelings are concerned, maybe this started off as platonic and you're just sort of moving into that territory of romance, there's an excitement there. There's almost like a pressure there where they're wanting to see where the future of this connection goes, or they're wanting to do what's necessary, encouraged to be vulnerable, because they feel not just that your heart is safe with them, but almost their whole spiritual self is very deeply aligned with you and kind of the energies that you emit and that you project out. So there's a sense of almost best friend and lover within kind of one person here, that it feels like this is something that they, in their wildest dreams, they never imagined such a connection would be possible or could be possible. And a lot of that, it feels like, stems from feeling very validated spiritually, even if this is somebody that's in the process of questing and kind of asking those questions like, who am I? Who do I want to become? Who was I? If they're sort of looking even at past life sort of energies, and with all of that, with all of the questions and with all of the answers, and maybe even kind of the reimagining or rerouting of these things, they feel very accepted in your presence, which it feels like is a major love language for this person, or is introducing them to the fact that connecting spiritually is a love language. It's a crucial component that might have been missing in their previous interpersonal relationships and romantic relationships, where it's almost like there's a healing or a transcendence beyond a feeling of maybe like there's something wrong with them and that's why they can't find anyone they connect with very deeply, or the sense of almost like needing to have friends groups separate from romance, because the two sort of versions of them don't really, or in the past, like didn't really have a way to kind of blend together. But with you, it's like those lines are erased, and you're very much the full package, in the sense that you bring spiritual voice to them, or a sounding board for their spiritual voice, in a way that is giving them a new perspective and cause to really value you and what the two of you share, an incentive to continue to kind of build and grow and develop and explore that further. So let's get some messages from their higher self, and then I'll close the reading out with some initials. Okay, and we have, I became numb because I refused to take accountability for my behavior. So this is really indicating, again, that idea of needing to keep separate, almost like a friends group or certain interests or a layer about this person that has not really had a safe space romantically. But with you, it's almost the essence of, I can be my authentic self. I can be as kind of weird or outside of the box, or kind of have these big ideas or even sort of goals toward being better than the person that they were yesterday, a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. There might not have been a lot of people in their life that encourage that change or could resonate with like the upgraded version of them. And so it's almost like they may have, prior to meeting you, resigned themselves to, it's either going to be settling into romance or, with someone that kind of only will accept like a diluted version of me, or pouring myself fully into kind of becoming the best version of who I am, and sort of romance is secondary. Or maybe this is even someone that prior to meeting you had thought, maybe there just isn't anyone for me in this lifetime, and it feels like they could have devoted themselves to sort of coming to terms with that in a way to where there's an excitement. You've softened their heart. You brought them back to life in a way that's not just the essence of, okay, I've got someone to love again, but it's almost, I feel seen and connected with another human being on a level that kind of transcends what was the case before. Or there's no need to sort of block out or create these segments of my life where there's like friends and family, and then romance, kind of the version of them that shows up in both. It's almost the best of both worlds. This is romance, or it's leaning toward romance, or they're wanting to kind of develop that more. But then there's also a sense of, you fit very well into kind of my world, into my reality. We fit very well with one another. We also have, no one understands me like you do. So there's that confirmation of feeling very seen, safe, and supported to, continue to grow and to develop and to expand into a different version of themselves on into the future. This may be somebody who's starting to think about long-term plans. Where do I want this connection to go from here? All this excitement about how deeply we connect on these transcendent levels, what's necessary in a material sense in order to, solidify that, create a sense of certainty and assurance. And they also say, everything reminds me of you. So they feel very deeply connected with you in terms of goals, dreams, morals, values, maybe even life experiences. This could be somebody that you have a lot of shared life experiences with one another, where it's almost, they feel understood on a deep level, because you're not just sitting there holding space, but can truly empathize through experience with what it is that they have been through, which it feels like is very refreshing for them compared to people they've been around, or even romances that they've experienced in their past. And they also say, you're the first thing I think about when I open my eyes. So again, a lot of excitement about you, about this connection, about where things are headed, what has developed between the two of you up to this point. And you really give this person something to look forward to. They look forward to talking to you. They look forward to time spent with you. They look forward to exchanging ideas and really discovering how your mind works in order to kind of see the world through the eyes of love in the same way that kind of you're looking, or the essence of almost like, you help me to sort of see a different view that is possible in terms of connection with another person that I didn't think could be part of the nature of romance, and yet I found that with you. And they also say, I miss you more and more every day. So definitely a desire to create more closeness, more consistency in your communication, take things to the next level, declare feelings, be more specific about the nature of their feelings, starting to make kind of plans for the future so that they don't have to have periods of time where, you're not in contact with one another. If you're at a distance, or you're just kind of dating, this can talk about, preparing to move in with one another, take things to the next level, settle into, some kind of monogamous commitment with one another. If you're already in that, this can even talk about, ideas about getting married and kind of creating that forever bond with one another, so that they don't have to kind of wake up without you. They don't have to sort of miss you when you're gone. So there's definitely an essence here of wanting to kind of create more closeness. This is not somebody who's going to push you away or has intentions of running away anytime soon or perhaps ever, because they really are excited and are liking the experience of kind of blending your worlds, merging energies, exchanging with one another romantically, intellectually, spiritually, emotionally. And they also say, I'm grateful that you came into my life. So you definitely are being received as like a divine blessing, a kindred spirit, somebody who understands them, somebody who kind of sees the world as they do, or is aligned with a particular spiritual path, or just accepts them for more of the fullness of who they are than even friends and family may have, or romance may have. It's you're the perfect blend of all of those circumstances, kind of at the utmost layer and capacity of perfection, in terms of I feel accepted for who I am, flaws and all. But then there's also this essence of you accept or understand them or can resonate with them on a layer of who they are that nobody has been able to kind of understand or appreciate or tolerate or accept or keep up with or resonate with, which gives, like, again, best friends and lovers kind of energy. And they also say, I want to rebuild our connection. So this to me is kind of giving the vibes of wanting to build further, wanting to, deepen the connection, create more of a solid understanding between the two of you. So that can be, entering into that exclusive monogamous connection, getting engaged, getting married, wanting to build towards the future. And they also say, I just want to hear your voice. So another confirmation of like ideas that the two of you exchange, conversations that you have. These things are very stimulating on an intellectual and a spiritual level. They're not wanting to have periods of time where they're not talking to you, wanting to sort of hear about you, hear about your journey, hear about your day, hear about kind of whatever else is going on in your life. This is the energy of somebody who's definitely very excited to have you as a part of their life. This is not obsessive energy or codependent energy. It's almost just like an awakened individual encountering another awakened individual and sort of feeling like, okay, I'm not alone out here in this awakened path, and they have found that within you. And so this is a very beautiful essence of someone, it feels like, who will continue to participate with you, grow and evolve with you, explore kind of what these feelings are, what they can become. Wherever you're at in your experience with one another in a material sense, there's definitely a desire to start to open those lines of communication to talk about kind of what's the future between the two of us look like? Where do we go from here? So these initials can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got P, Y, W, O, X, N, R, M, P, L, V, B, G, S, Z, O, R, N, H, and G. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.